Escaping death, Leonie is teleported from one danger to another, and another planet. With her unique origins now revealed, Leonie yearns to move on, but prophecy has her in its clutches. On an alien world where civilization is so different, racial indifference is the same. With her newfound powers, Leonie is a force to be reckoned with. But can she save the world? Or will she be able to change her destiny? Friends and allies are lost. The time is coming for her to take more drastic and dangerous measures, if there's any hope to survive. Hello everyone, and welcome once again to the Heir's Lair. I'm your host, Jonathan Taylor. Today's video, as you might have been able to guess, is another book review. And for the sake of this review, I'm going to be returning to a book series that I first took my gander at 3 years ago. Not 3 weeks, not sure why I said that. And I have to lift you in order to show you. The Shadow of the Tower, the second book in the series by Andre Jones. Okay, now please excuse me as I shuffle you back here. Yeah, you're gonna get a pretty good view of this corner of my room. Okay. Now going back, where was I? Oh yeah, this series I've been waiting for years to come back to. I did intend to return to it, especially after my, especially given I did find myself having a positive impression over the first book. But it is really only now that I really had a good opportunity to talk about it. So if I've kept you waiting, I apologize. Anyway, enough about my history with the book. Let's talk about the book itself and what makes it distinctive. The TLDW of this review is Andre still has his touch, but I don't think he is able to utilize it quite well within this book. There are still plenty of elements and features to it that make it as intriguing and eye-catching as the previous, but I don't think these elements are presented with enough elegance and care in order to really allow them to stand out as effectively as they might have otherwise. Still, if you did find yourself to be captivated by the first book, this second book is very likely to catch and hold your attention as well. And now that I'm done with the general aspects of this story, it's time I delve a little bit into the specifics. The plot of the book follows Leonie, the same main character as in the previous book, but now without her partner in crime, as she decides to go on one final job before she retires from being a thief. Said job, however, encounters some unexpected complications. Complications which in her attempt to flee, finds out that she has to go through an unknown portal in order to escape them. Once she arrives at the other side of the portal, she finds herself in a dystopian, futuristic wasteland, and learns that she has to navigate a complex social order in order to return home. So yeah, this book sees the trilogy jump from fantasy to science fiction, and I am not particularly sure that it manages to execute that jump particularly well. I did speak about the action scenes of the first book and about how they are structured more or less like random encounters or missions in a role-playing game, with the outcome sometimes coming across as a little bit too convenient. That holds true to this book as well, except that facet is somewhat exacerbated by the fact that the margins for error are depicted as being smaller, and yet even though Leonie encounters many of the similar failures and issues, the end result is still her triumphing, even though the information established up until that point really wouldn't allow her to really wouldn't allow for the results that are that are shown within the story. It could be argued that those actual pre-established conditions weren't exactly as stringent as they were portrayed to be, but I don't think that aspect of the presentation really works. Really works either. And to explain why, I'm going to have to go into a little bit of a detour to explain the differences between fantasy and science fiction. Fantasy is derived from mythology and folklore, and it is often told and retold, and in many ways, uh, and in many ways accumulates different meanings, different significance compared to its compared to its original context. So while the core, core narrative and the core appeal arguably stay the same, the details melt away. Science fiction, while its earliest stories are courage. While the earliest iteration of science fiction are quite old, I could almost say very old, it really only started to take root as a more widespread form of literature within the early Industrial Revolution, as people were starting to figure out what the rules and laws governing the way the world works actually were, and started to figure out how to utilize these laws and rules in order to make their own lives better, in order to improve them. But that really requires a particular adherence to to those rules, to those laws, and therefore to a specific set of conditions. And within that framework, science fiction, which relies on a particular set of conditions in order to tell its story and establish itself, was really allowed to develop. By ignoring the the premises of the story, or by only applying them when they are most convenient, Andre is unfortunately sabotaging the narrative weight his own story would have, thereby giving it less narrative meaning than it really could have. And so therefore, even though a lot of the action sequences are still crafted and presented in an interesting manner, it is those details that don't really allow me to immerse myself within the story, because it really comes across as just whatever the author wants to happen will happen. And even though that's generally the case, you still as a reader want to see that development occur as naturalistically as possible, and that immersion, at least in my case, doesn't really exist within this book. That's not the case only with the action scenes, but it is within the action scenes that it becomes most pronounced. Thankfully, the world building of this book does a lot to pick up the slack. With Andre doing a great job at establishing the the peculiarities and characteristics of this new world within which both Leone and a companion character end up finding themselves, making this futuristic wasteland that I've described come across as both intriguing and familiar. Of particular note with the world building is how the various people of the world are able to use their environment in order to keep themselves alive, and how the various peoples, tribes, associations, societies, whatever you want to call them, um, engage with or respond to each other, if at all. The actual internal structuring is a little bit is a little bit loose, but overall I find the world building to still be very intriguing and functional. Another aspect another aspect worth pointing out is the characterization of this book. Even though not all named characters receive receive a lot of depth or dimension, pretty much pretty much every character that has a role in moving the plot forward receives receives some level of insight within their motivations, within their goals, and within the ways in which they see the world, allowing the ways in which they influence it to come that much more to life, to come across as more naturalistic, as I've said previously. That being said, there are certain characters where Andre isn't really as elegant as he could have been in terms of presenting those those aspects of them. Overall, while I think this book has some has some very intriguing elements that are presented in exciting and eye-catching ways, the overall framing of this entire story doesn't really allow all of its elements to truly come to light. My final rating for Shadow of the Tower is a 3 out of 5. And that was my review. Thank you for your attention. If you enjoyed it, well then please like the video, maybe even share it wherever you think other people will also like the video. If there is anything you'd like to add, either to the book itself or to my review of it, that's what the comment section is for. And if you want to see when my next video gets released, well then please subscribe. And ideally also ring the bell or do whatever else YouTube will ask of you in order to keep you notified. My books, the first of my own Heir to the Empire series, The Next Generation and The Path Not Taken, are available at various book retailers under their respective master links in the description down below. Right past my social media links, which I also suggest you check out should you choose to. I also have a second channel where you can hear me talking about whatever else crosses my mind, though typically it'll also be related to narratives, though not narratives as presented in a within the printed or within the printed format. If you want to hear more about my thoughts on the on what is presented via the printing format, then I suggest you stay on this channel and go through my extensive backlog of book reviews, writing advice, and miscellaneous other videos. If none of those interest you, then I suggest you go ahead and do whatever you want with the rest of your day, because it is your day after all. Until next time, I'm Jonathan Taylor, and this has been the Heir's Lair.